What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. Today, we're taking a look at the updated 2023 Daytona 500 interest. As we're less than 2 weeks away from the Daytona 500, there's been a lot of new things that have been announced around the 2023 Daytona 500. Let's take a look at the 2023 Daytona 500 interest. Let's begin by talking about the one car for Trackhouse Racing. This one's going to be driven by Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain in 2022 had a really strong season, scoring 2 victories and making it to the championship 4. He'll be looking to win his first Daytona 500 in 2023, which he's always aggressive on super speedway tracks. I think it's going to play a major factor and major role in helping Ross Chastain. He's probably going to be a threat and be aggressive in the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, talk about the 2 car for Team Penske. This is being driven by defending Daytona 500 winner in 2022, Austin Cindric. Austin Cindric had a pretty solid rookie year, of course, won the 2022 Daytona 500, so he's really strong in super speedway tracks, led a ton of laps in that event, and went on to win the race. Austin Cindric will be a very, very big threat to win the 2023 edition. He'll be looking to go back-to-back in the 2023 edition. I expect him to be a pretty major threat this season. Up next, talk about the 3 car for Richard Childress Racing. This will once again be driven by Austin Dillon. Austin won the Daytona 500 back in 2018 and is a very underrated super speedway racer, always contending for top 5s, top 10s, and top 15s, and actually won the last time we were here at Daytona as well. I think that experience is going to play a major role in helping Austin Dillon have a chance to win his second Daytona 500 and get his 5th career NASCAR Cup Series victory. I think he'll be a threat, and I think the 3 car is going to be really fast. Up next, talk about the 4 car for Stewart-Haas Racing. This one's going to be driven by Kevin Harvick. Now, this is going to be Kevin Harvick's final Daytona 500. At the end of this year, he is going to retire full-time Cup Series racing and actually NASCAR racing in general, and will jump up to the Fox Sports booth on a full-time basis in 2024. Kevin Harvick will be looking to win his second Daytona 500, as of course he won the 2007 Daytona 500. Kevin Harvick ran pretty solid at super speedway tracks last year, so I expect him to be a pretty big threat, and I think Stewart-Haas Racing will be really strong this upcoming season. Up next, talk about the 5 car for Hendrick Motorsports. This is once going to be driven by Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson has not won the Daytona 500 at this current moment, but of course he's a 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion, but has been very solid at super speedway tracks in the past as well. Nearly won the Spring Talladega race in 2022. Kyle Larson tends to run up front and finish solid in the Daytona 500, so I think that's going to play a role, a major factor, a potential good factor in helping Kyle Larson be a threat. I think Kyle Larson's going to have a chance to win the Daytona 500. Up next, talk about the 6 car for RFK Racing. This will once again be driven by Brad Keselowski. In last year's Daytona 500, Brad Keselowski was very aggressive and caused multiple wrecks. But he's also really fast and very, very competitive in the event. And I think Brad Keselowski is going to play a major role and major factor in who wins the 2023 Daytona 500. Keselowski, of course, is also great at super speedways, but a lot of his wins have come at Talladega. I think Keselowski will be a threat, though. I think that 6 car is going to be really, really strong and really, really fast. And I think Keselowski will be a threat in 2023 for the Daytona 500. Up next, talk about the 7 car for Spire Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie came very close to winning here at Daytona in 2021 in the summer race, and also came very, very close to winning the Atlanta race in 2022. Corey LaJoie is a very underrated super speedway racer, and I think if he's up front and in contention, he might be one to watch. He could surprise and steal a victory and kick off the season with a win. He's got a shot, I think, to do it, and I think he could be a threat to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 8 car for Richard Childress Racing? There's a new driver in the 8 car for Richard Childress Racing for this year's Daytona 500, but the driver's already started driving for the team at this point, and that is Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has attempted to win the Daytona 500 for the last basically 18 or 19 years. In his 18th try, which is, I believe will be his 18th try in the Daytona 500, he looks to win his first Daytona 500. He's came very close, has led the most laps ever of drivers who have never won the Daytona 500. So it's not like Kyle Busch is terrible in the 500. He just cannot catch a break to win. I think Kyle Busch is going to be a threat. This 18 looked really strong at the Clash, so I think that's going to play a role. I think Kyle Busch is 100% going to be a threat to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 9 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This will once again be driven by Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott's a pretty solid super speedway racer, scored 2 victories at super speedways in 2022, coming at Talladega and at Atlanta Raceway. I think that Chase Elliott is going to be a pretty solid threat. He's actually the favorite, I think, currently to win the Daytona 500 at the moment. He's not my pick to win the Daytona 500 this year, but I think Chase Elliott is going to be a really strong car. He's going to have a lot of great pace and a lot of great speed, and I think Chase Elliott could absolutely be a threat. He's definitely one to watch for sure. I think he'll be a threat to win the Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 10 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? This will once again be driven by Eric Almirola. Now, we initially thought early in the year that Eric Almirola was going to retire at the end of 2022, but Eric Almirola confirmed that he would be returning in 2023. Eric Almirola has come very close to win the Daytona 500 in the past. 2018 got turned by Austin Dillon, and in 2022 got a top 5 or top 6 finish in the event. I think Eric Almirola is going to be very underrated in this event. I think he'll have a very, very strong run. The 10 car looked pretty solid, especially in the clash in the beginning. I think Eric Almirola will be a threat in the Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 11 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This will be once again driven by 3-time Daytona 500 winner Denny Hamlin, who won the 2016, 2019, and 2020 editions. Denny Hamlin is one of the best super speedway racers currently in the NASCAR Cup Series at the moment. He's definitely a favorite to win. If he wins the Daytona 500 this year, he will be only the 3rd driver to have 4 or more Daytona 500 victories in NASCAR Cup Series history. I think Denny Hamlin will be a threat to win for sure. That number 11 car is going to be fast. Hamlin will be quick. I expect Denny Hamlin to be a threat to win the Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 12 car for Team Penske? This will once again be driven by Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney has come very close to winning the Daytona 500 in the past. Actually won at this track back in 2021 in that summer race, and is also a really strong super speedway racer as well. Ryan Blaney has also come up shy of winning the Daytona 500, dominated in 2018, had a strong car in 2019, basically lost in a photo finish in 2020, and came very close to winning last year as well. This could be Ryan Blaney's shot to get it done, and he might have a chance to win the Daytona 500 this season. Up next, how about the 13 car for Kaulig Racing? Yes, Kaulig Racing is going to have 3 cars in 2023, and they will have Chandler Smith driving this 13 car as they will attempt to qualify for the Daytona 500. Chandler Smith has shown some pretty good skills in the Truck Series at Super Speedway tracks. Yes, he's not won a Super Speedway race in the Truck Series, but of course he's moving up to the Xfinity Series this year to drive full-time for Kaulig Racing. I think Chandler Smith's got a really good chance to make the show. Of course, has to qualify his way into the Daytona 500. I think he's definitely 100% got a shot to make the field for the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 14 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? This will once again be driven by Chase Briscoe, who's coming off also signing a multi-year contract extension with Stewart-Haas Racing. Chase Briscoe had a pretty strong run in last year's Daytona 500, considering the first one was terrible. 2022 was a much better running. I think Chase Briscoe will be underrated in this event. He's a pretty solid super speed racer, and I think that number 14 car is going to be really, really fast. I expect Chase Briscoe to be somewhat of a contender in this year's Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 15 car for Rick Ware Racing? We have a new driver in the 15 car for Rick Ware Racing, as it was confirmed that Riley Herbst is going to drive the 15 car in the 2023 Daytona 500 with Sonny D on the car. Riley Herbst has been decent in super speedways in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, but he's someone that a lot of people don't really look at as a future superstar in this sport. That being said, though, Riley Herbst will be making his NASCAR Cup Series debut at the age of 23 years old. He'll be 24 by the end of the season. I do think that Riley Herbst could have a shot to get it done, and we'll see what he can do. He could surprise a lot of people. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Up next, how about the 16 car for Kaulig Racing? This will once again be driven by AJ Allmendinger, who will be attempting to make his first Daytona 500 and actually qualifying first Daytona 500 since 2018, even though he's already locked in. AJ, of course, returning to the Cup Series on a full-time basis for the first time since 2018 season. AJ has shown some pretty good skills in the Xfinity Series. He actually won an Xfinity Series race at Talladega in 2022, so he does have quite a bit of experience. I think that could play a really big role in helping AJ, and I think we could see AJ have a chance to have a good Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 17 car for RFK Racing? This will once again be driven by Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher's coming off of kind of an up-and-down 2022 season where he started off Daytona by having a really strong Daytona duel, and him and Brad Keselowski sweeping the duels, and then, of course, being a factor somewhat in the Daytona 500, but I think got involved in the wreck with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Chris Buescher also won a race at Bristol, which it's not the similar tracks to Daytona, of course, but I think Chris Buescher could be somewhat of a surprising contender, and we'll see what Chris Buescher can do, and he could be a threat to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This will once again be driven by Martin Truex Jr. We didn't even know in 2023 if Martin Truex Jr. was even going to return this year. But Martin Truex Jr. has already started a really great start to 2023, as he's already won the Busch Light Clash a couple of days ago, which has to be a big confidence booster for Martin Truex Jr. considering some of the struggles he had in 2022. I think Martin Truex Jr. could be an underdog. He won both stages in 2022, which could play a factor. We'll see if he can be up front and have a chance to win it. Up next, how about the 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This will once again be driven by Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell in 2022 unfortunately crashed in the Daytona 500 and had not the greatest runs as super speedways throughout the last couple of years. But Christopher Bell and this Joe Gibbs team are going to be looking to be big factors, and I think Christopher Bell could be a surprising contender. We'll see what the 20 team can get done, and we'll see what happens. I think Christopher Bell could be a surprise for the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 21 car for the Wood Brothers Racing? This will once again be driven by Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton is coming off of kind of a disappointing 2022, where I believe he finished like 28th or 29th in the points, but Harrison Burton did, to be fair, he did have a really strong Daytona 500 going until he unfortunately got turned by Brad Keselowski and his entourage of causing a lot of wrecks. I think Harrison Burton is definitely underdog for the Daytona 500 this year in 2023 and be looking to build on a not-so-great 2022 and hopes to have a much better season. Up next, how about the 22 car for Team Penske? This will once again be driven by Joey Logano. Joey Logano, of course, who won this event back in 2015, the 2015 Daytona 500, and also the defending NASCAR Cup Series champion. Joey Logano is going to be looking to win his second Daytona 500 in the last 8 years or last 9 years, so you know Logano is going to be a factor. Logano's always aggressive, so he's always strong in super speedways, so he's probably going to be a factor. Up next, how about the 23 car for 2311 Racing? This will once again be driven by Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace has shown some really strong runs at super speedway tracks and came very close to winning the 2022 Daytona 500 and lost in a photo finish. And if not for Fender coming off, he probably would have won that Daytona 500. I think Bubba Wallace is going to 100% be a threat to win the 2023 Daytona 500. 2311 has looked really fast at the beginning of the year so far from the Busch Light Clash, so I think that could play a role in helping Bubba Wallace in this year's Daytona 500. We'll see what happens. I think Bubba is 100%, though, going to be a threat to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 24 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This will once again be driven by William Byron. William Byron in 2022 is pretty solid at super speedway tracks, but one thing about William Byron is he does have a super speedway win here at Daytona, which came in 2020 and picked up his first career NASCAR Cup Series victory. If William Byron can stay out of trouble and stay up front, he'll be a factor to win. He'll be 100% a contender to win, and I think William Byron could have a chance to have a really strong 2023 season and could be a factor to win it all. Up next, how about the 31 car for Kaulig Racing? This will once again be driven by Justin Haley. Now, Justin Haley was kind of disappointing on the Super Speedway Cup Series races last year, considering he didn't really have a good run in the Daytona 500, had a tire come off, and unfortunately could not appeal the penalties that they unfortunately received. Now, Justin Haley in 2023 has got a chip on his shoulder. It's a contract year for him, so he's going to be expected to perform at Kaulig Racing. Luckily for him, he's a really strong Super Speedway racer, and that could play a factor in helping him out in 2023. Up next, how about the 34 car for Front Row Motorsports? This will once again be driven by Michael McDowell. Now, Michael McDowell, of course, who won the 2021 Daytona 500, is also really solid at super speedways and was somewhat of a contender in the 2022 edition as well, which could help him have a chance to win his second Daytona 500 in the last 3 years. I think Michael McDowell is going to be really, really quick. I think they're going to make that 34 car really, really strong, and Front Row has a really strong super speedway program. Up next, how about the 36 car for Front Row Motorsports? While the number has not been officially announced for Zane Smith, I would anticipate that this is going to be the number that Zane Smith is going to run, though that has not been announced. Now, Zane Smith is expected to run 5 to 6 Cup Series races with the front row group. He will, of course, have to attempt to qualify in the Daytona 500, either qualify on Wednesday or get in through the duels. I think Zane Smith, with how good he is at Super Speedways, won the truck opener in 2022. That will play a role in helping Zane Smith, and I think he will be somewhat of a threat to make the show. Up next, how about the 38 car for Front Row Motorsports? This will once again be driven by Todd Gilliland. Todd Gilliland had kind of a disappointing 2022, so he's looking to build on and have a much better 2023. Lucky for him, Daytona's right around the corner, which could be where he could really start off a great season. Hopefully Todd Gilliland can have a really good year, make that 38 team strong, and we'll see what Todd Gilliland can do in the 2023 season. I think Todd Gilliland could be a threat, and we'll see what happens. Up next, how about the 41 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? We got a new driver in the 41 car this year as Ryan Preece replaces Cole Custer for this season. Ryan Preece already had a really strong Busch Light clash and showing, unfortunately, fuel pump issues, but he looks to come into the Daytona 500 and looks to go out and try to win it. Now, Ryan Preece, of course, has been close at times to win the Daytona 500 or has been a factor in the Daytona 500 in the past, so it could really help him out in this year's edition. He won't have to qualify his way in. I think Ryan Preece has got a shot, and I think he could be an underdog to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 42 car for Legacy Motor Club? That's right, Petty GMS now becomes Legacy Motor Club, and Noah Gragson is going to be driving this car in 2023, replacing Ty Dillon. Noah Gragson has attempted to run the Daytona 500 pass, actually made it in 2022, but unfortunately ended up crashing out after Kyle Larson ended up causing a wreck. I think Noah Gragson is going to be somewhat of a threat for sure to potentially be a really big surprise. He's a really aggressive super speed racer, and that could help him play a factor in having a chance to win the event. Up next, how about the 43 car for Legacy Motor Club? This will once again be driven by Eric Jones. Eric Jones coming off a very solid 2022 season, going on and basically scoring one win in the Southern 500, picking up his second Southern 500 victory, which was really, really impressive. I think Eric Jones is also a really solid super speed racer, was really strong at tracks like Daytona, actually Talladega, where he was really fast in those races, has come close to winning. He actually came close to winning both Talladega races in 2022. I think that could help him have a shot to be a contender this year. Up next, how about the 45 car for 2311 Racing? This will be driven by a new driver in 2023, as Tyler Reddick will be taking over for Kurt Busch in the 2023 edition of the Daytona 500. Tyler Reddick's coming off a very kind of iffy 2022, where he was really inconsistent, fast, but also had a lot of mechanical problems. I think Tyler Reddick will be a factor to win this year's Daytona 500 because he's got a lot of Toyota teammates. Toyota's always fast at super speedways, and I think he'll play a major role in helping Tyler Reddick have a chance to win the Daytona 500. I think he's going to have a chance, and he could absolutely be a threat to win the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 47 car for JTG Doherty Racing? This will once again be driven by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Now, one thing about Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is he's great on super speedway tracks, won 2 of them in 2017, including at Daytona. But one thing about Stenhouse, he's also really aggressive as well, has either caused wrecks or been involved in wrecks. If Stenhouse can stay out of trouble, he could have a chance to get it done, and he could be a factor to win the 2023 Daytona 500 this upcoming season. Up next, how about the 48 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This will once again be driven by Alex Bowman. Now, Alex Bowman will have a new crew chief this year, as Blake Harris is going to be the crew chief for his car. Alex Bowman looks to have a very solid 2023 and will be looking to win the 2023 edition of the Daytona 500. Has not won a super speedway race in his career, but this could be the year he finally wins the Daytona 500. We'll see what happens. Up next, how about the 50 car for the Money Team? Now, the Money Team has confirmed that they are going to enter the Daytona 500 this year, but it's unclear what driver it will be. A lot of people believe it's going to be Connor Daly. And the Money Team has said that they want to work with Connor Daly a lot more this year, and there's been recent rumblings and reports that this is likely going to happen. So I would anticipate with the Money Team coming into play that they're going to bring Connor Daly in to drive the car. Some initially thought it was going to be Julio Castroneves, and we thought until recently it was going to be that. We now know for sure that it will be Connor Daly who will drive the 50 car likely in the Daytona 500 unless things change at the last minute. Up next, how about the 51 car for Rick Ware Racing? This will once again be driven by Cody Ware. Cody Ware had kind of an up and down 2022 season. In fact, Ricker Racing kind of was not that fast, and they were kind of slowing off the pace throughout the season. But I do expect this season for Cody Ware that I think the team will be a little bit better. Also, I think Cody Ware got a top 5 finish the last time we were here at Daytona. Yes, a whole field wreck, but still Cody Ware was able to survive and had a really strong run. So I think Cody Ware could definitely be a pretty big factor for sure, and it could help have a chance to be an underdog for the Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 54 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? Yep, that's right. The 54 car has been changed from the 18 car, and Ty Gibbs is driving the 54 car in this year's Daytona 500, likely Monster Energy backing this car. Ty Gibbs will be looking to win, of course, his first ever NASCAR Cup Series race by winning the biggest event of all, the Daytona 500. He's going to be really aggressive, always aggressive at every track he goes to, and someone they'll be able to watch throughout the season. Whether his temper comes through or something comes through, it'll be something to watch, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. But Ty Gibbs will make his first ever Daytona 500 start this year. Up next, how about the 62 car for Beer Motorsports? Yep, Beer Motorsports is returning in 2023, and they will have Austin Hill behind the wheel for 6 races this season. Austin Hill is a really strong super speed racer, especially in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, which I think is going to play a major role in helping Austin Hill have a chance to be competitive. And I think that 6-2 car, if it makes a show, which is going to have a really strong chance, I think that Austin Hill has a really good chance, and I think we could see Austin Hill be a big factor in this year's Daytona 500 if he is still in the running at the end of the event. I think he's going to be one to watch. Up next, how about the 67 car for 2311 Racing? 2311 Racing will have 3 cars in the 2023 Daytona 500, but this car will be an open car as Travis Pastrana will be making his first ever NASCAR Cup Series. I think this will be his NASCAR Cup Series debut if he's able to make the show. Now, Travis Pastrana will also be running the Truck Series race. It's unclear what team he'll drive for, but it will likely be a Toyota team, whether it's Tricon Garage or another team. We don't know at this point, but Travis Pastrana making his debut or attempting to make his debut, which is really big for the series in general. It's really exciting to see that he's coming to run the Daytona 500 this year. He'll have Black Rifle Coffee. I don't think the paint scheme is that good. We'll talk about that later in the future. But Travis Pastrana will be looking to try to win the Daytona 500 and even make the show this year. Up next, how about the 77 car for Spire Motorsports? This will be driven by Ty Dillon once again. Now, Ty Dillon, of course, will be joining Spire Motorsports this year. Had kind of a very uneventful Busch-like clash. Also, Ty Dillon is very aggressive on Super Speedway, so that could help him have a chance to be pretty competitive and also probably be very aggressive as well. I would expect that Ty Dillon will be a contender. I think he's going to be a big threat for sure, and an underdog for it for sure, and we'll see what Ty Dillon can do in the 2023 Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 78 for Live Fast Motorsports? This will be likely driven by team owner B.J. McLeod. It's expected he'll drive this car. Now, B.J. McLeod, of course, had kind of a little bit of a disappointing year last year, but they did get a top 10 at Daytona the last time you were here, so that definitely helps his chances a little bit. He will, of course, be in the show, so hopefully they can qualify really, really fast. They're a small team on a budget and trying to save their equipment. We'll see what they can do in the 2023 edition of the Daytona 500. Up next, how about the 84 car for Legacy Motor Club? Jimmy Johnson is coming back and will be attempting to make his first Daytona 500 start since the 2020 season. Jimmy Johnson, of course, driving an 84 Carvana backing him. He'll have to attempt to qualify his way in. He doesn't have a provisional. He has to qualify his way into the Daytona 500 since he is in an open car. Jimmy also confirmed this week that he will run the Chicago Street Course race as well later this year. I think Jimmy Johnson will be a pretty big threat if he can make the show. In fact, I think he will actually win the pole for this year's Daytona 500. And I think Jimmy Johnson has a chance to get it done in this year's Daytona 500. And finally, the last car confirmed is a 99 car for Trackhouse Racing, and that will be driven by Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez, pretty underrated super speed racer. He's going to be aggressive. You know that Trackhouse will be bringing a very aggressive setup, and I think that will play a major role, a major factor helping Daniel Suarez have a chance to get it done. So I think Daniel Suarez will be a threat, and I think that number 99 car is going to be really strong. I expect Daniel Suarez to be very fast in the 2023 Daytona 500. So those are all the confirmed entries for the 2023 Daytona 500. Let's talk about some of the open teams. Team Hazenbergs, they have pretty much confirmed they're not entering. It's been rumored that they're not going to enter. We know the NY Racing's had some rumors and rumblings, but I don't think they're going to show up, to be honest. We know the NBM, they're confirmed to not run the Daytona 500, and we also know that Project 91 car will also not enter the Daytona 500 in 2023. So anyway, that is going to be it for the 2023 Daytona 500 entry list video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel, notifications on to be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links are down below over that, and comment below your thoughts below on today's video. Who is your early pick to win the 2023 Daytona 500? Let me know in the comments below. Tomorrow on my channel, we're going to have a NASCAR news video where if anything major breaks like it did last night, we'll have it on the channel on today. On Thursday, of course, we'll have another special video on this channel or NASCAR news video. Friday will be NASCAR news. And also on this channel this week is going to be Super Bowl picks. And also we'll be doing the Super Bowl review after that is concluded, unless it cannot be available at that time. So anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode. And I'll see you guys next time for some more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.